Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 139. I'm Tony Caliendo, author of Less Over More and Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. As always, I want to take a moment and thank you and welcome you for sharing your time with me. Time really is our greatest asset, and the fact that you're willing to share your time with me truly does mean a great deal. So I cannot thank you enough for joining me. And for those of you that join on the regular, I truly appreciate your support. Today, I'm going to talk about something that we've hinted around about and we've talked a little bit about in the past. Yet I really want us to drill down on this today and walk away with a different appreciation for it as a strategy for your business. You know, a lot of times we feel like our business is hard, right? That we just need to do more and we stack doing more and doing more and doing more. Yet what if we've removed the one thing that makes your business sustainable? That one thing is joy and happiness. Most people are chasing joy as a result versus creating joy and using it as input or strategy. And to me, it's a significantly missed opportunity. So today I want to flip the script. I want us to talk about us being the most profitable, the most productive, and the most sustainable version of you possible by simply infusing joy as a strategy into your work and into your life. And it's one of those things that we must do with intention. The number one thing that I want to start with when we're talking about this journey of joy and happiness is that I feel like we've been sold a lie that we all operate, or a lot of us operate at times or all the time, with the thought of, I'll be happy when. I think we've all heard ourselves say this, right? I'll be happy when I make X amount of money. I'll be happy when I get to my goal. I'll be happy when. And what is happening during that time period is that you are missing out on all of the joy-filled moments from when you begin until you get to the end result. You're holding off on experiencing any joy, and you've connected it to the goal or the vision, and you do not allow yourself to experience it along the way. When you do this, it creates dissatisfaction, even when you have moments of success. And let's be honest, as we're working toward a goal, we're winning, we're failing, we're doing all kinds of things in between. But what we are also doing is experiencing joy moments. Yet we tend to ignore them because we're holding off on that joy until we get to that final goal. This really leads to an unbelievable amount of pressure on you to hit that goal and stress and burnout. Let's be honest. I think we've all experienced this. Success doesn't create joy. It reveals whether joy has been there all along. I will tell you, this is one of the things that I have struggled with in the past. And through working with my coach, I've really made an effort to infuse joy as a strategy into my business, because I was like so many, just beating myself up every step of the way because I wasn't to that goal. And a lot of us operate on an annual goal. Think about that for a second. You're putting your joy at risk for an entire year because we've fallen prey to, or we've fallen into the belief that the joy comes with the result. I think that is such an unfortunate thing. And honestly, until my coach pointed it out to me years ago, I didn't really give it much consideration because I was so driven to get to that goal, to get to that result. And I tied all of my joy up in making that happen. Here's the real tragedy in all of that. If you miss the goal, have you lived an entire year, quarter, month, week, whatever it is, have you lived that entire time period without allowing yourself to experience joy on the journey? And most importantly, never allowing yourself to express or experiencing joy because you fell short of the goal that you set. Think about that for a minute. Success doesn't create joy. it reveals whether joy was there all along. And I love that. Those joy moments are there every step of the way if you allow yourself to pay attention to them. The number two thing I want you to consider is that joy is an energy advantage. All right. It makes things very practical and performance based. Logic will make you think, yet emotion will make you act. What is joy? Joy is an emotion. And if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling held back, one of the easiest things you can do is look at what you've done that you should be proud of, that you should allow yourself to experience joy around. That joy that you create, that you have to be intentional about creating. Because I'm going to be honest, when I'm behind goal or I'm missing goal, I still am really hard on myself. Yet when I stop and create a joy moment from what I've done, even if what I've done has created a failure, I've done something. I've taken a stand for or a step for myself and my business. And that within itself should be joy. And what I know is when I create joy, when I'm intentional about creating joy, my energy is higher. My creativity is through the roof. And I have a much stronger connection with people, with my clients, with my family, with everyone that I come into contact with. Joy is such a driver of allowing those things to just blossom that may be being held down or not allowed to be expressed at its fullest potential. What I know to be true is whether you're in sales or you're growing your business, people will buy from and work with and follow energy, not just your skill. You can be the most talented person in your field, yet if you have a really negative energy or toxic energy around you and you're just so consumed with getting to goal and not caring about what's happening in the moment, you're going to miss out. You could have the best skill in the world, but the joy or lack of joy is going to repel people versus attract them. Think about it for yourself. There are several people in my life that just live with joy as their number one goal. And to be around them or to be in their presence changes everything. You can't help but have your mood, your disposition. You can't help but have that change. Well, think about a client who is thinking about making a purchase, who is thinking about partnering with you. That is such a critical piece of getting them to say, yes, I want to work with you. I just think that we overlook that and rely heavily just on our skill. I also know that when I enjoy what I'm doing, I show up more consistently. I stay in the game longer. You know, it's funny, I'll set a goal for myself to do a sales task for X amount of time. Yet when I'm experiencing joy and I'm creating joy and being intentional about it, I'm going to show up more consistently because I know when I do the task, I'm going to create joy in my life. And 9 times out of 10, I stay just an extra call or 2 or 3 because I'm in a really awesome space and I want to continue to enjoy that moment. Make sure that you're not confusing that skill is going to get you to a yes or skill only is going to get you to your goal. It really is joy as a part of it to attract in and to keep you in the game longer. Joy is not a soft skill. It's a competitive advantage. I love knowing that that skill or that creation of joy in my life is a competitive advantage. I've seen it happen. I have peers that I meet with on the regular. Those of us who allow ourselves to celebrate the wins along the way versus the ones that are just so intense and so focused on the fact that they're not at goal yet or they didn't make their goal, we outshine them in terms of energy and we attract people into our world. What I know to be true is energy precedes you in everything that you do, in everything that you do. And if my energy is not joyful, do you think people are going to want to come into my world, to join me in my world? They're not. They're just not. It will be harder to get people to interact or to work with you. Your energy is going to precede you in the phone calls you make, in the appointments you go on, in the emails you send, text message, DMs, posts that you make in social media. All of that is impacted by your energy, and your energy is impacted by if you allow yourself to experience joy or not. So make this one of your strategies. Number 3 is why business might feel hard. So if you're somebody right now who's like, gosh, my business is just feeling really difficult and hard, and I can't seem to break through. I can't seem to shake this off. It could simply be that you've added too much to do, that these activities that you're adding are stealing your joy moments. They're filling the space with things that drain you. You're operating from an obligation versus an alignment. I'll share with you that I'm working on a project and I hired a vendor to represent me and to work with me. And we started off great. And as time went on, this took about 60 days. This project was going on and they were being paid a very nice amount of money. As time went on, I was dreading our meetings. I felt like I was pushing a string uphill the entire time and that I wasn't the customer. And it was making things feel so difficult and very, very hard. It was impacting my joy. Like I dreaded getting on our weekly calls to go over what has been done by this company to support me on my journey in this project. And finally, I met with a peer of mine and we were having a conversation, and they know me well. And they know that I have high standards, yet I'm very fair. And we came to the conclusion that I needed to part ways with this vendor. And this vendor experience is really critical to the overall success of the project I'm working on. However, the moment I made the decision, I felt an energy shift. Then came the conversation to part ways. And as soon as that conversation was over, I could feel a sense of relief and I was smiling again. I was joyful because I knew I had removed that negative energy, that position that was being held was robbing me of joy. And it was really creating a lot of anxiety, frustration, and resentment. I let it go. Was it scary? Yes. Have I replaced this person yet? Not yet. And I know I need to. However, I'm being very cautious about who I bring in that capacity because I want to feel joyful about partnering with them. This is a significant project for me. And I want those that are in my presence working on it with me to also be joyful. And I think at the end of the day, it was just a great example and reminder to me that this vendor was not joyful. And I was experiencing that and I was being repelled away from them. And it was a great reminder for myself to make sure that I am showing up for my clients, my customers, my future customers, my family, my friends in the space of joy. Just working with them was not that skill, was not getting me to where I needed to go because it was lacking the most important thing, joy. The problem isn't always your effort, all right? It's really misaligned effort. So again, if you are doing things that are out of alignment, if you are working with people or you've added projects that are an energy drain, you need to really take a look at that and see what you need to do. I do this often in my multiple businesses. And what I'm doing is I really look at my activities on the regular and I make sure that they're not draining energy from me, that I don't see one of those things on my calendar and have a moment of dread. Like, oh my God, I got to do that at 1 o'clock. I don't want to do it. I don't allow myself to have that. If I have that dread, I know I'm robbing myself of joy. And I know that I'm going to show up differently. So I either figure out what thoughts going through my head that's causing that emotion, or I eliminate the activity and I reallocate that time to things that truly, truly matter. So number 4 is joy comes from alignment, not just achievement. This is really important. Achievement is an external validation. Joy is internal. All right. Joy comes from inside. Joy is that feeling that is cultivated from internal, not caused by an external thing that makes you happy. A lot of people use happy and joy and they interchange those two words. They are very different. Happy is happenstance. You're feeling that emotion because something happened. We bought a new car. We bought a new house. We hit the goal, right? That's external. That's causing a moment of happiness. Joy is internal. And we really have to ask ourselves what this actually feels like to me. So as you're on your journey and you're achieving small wins, it's really important to just ask yourself, how is this making me feel? It should be joyful. Or when I'm taking an action or an activity, or I'm looking at my strategies for the day. If I'm not feeling great about it, I need to stop for a moment and assess it. Question I'll often ask myself, and having a coach as a coach, there's a level of accountability that when I commit to do something, I'm going to show up and do it. But the one question I ask myself often is, would I choose this activity, this thought, this action if no one was watching? I'll ask myself that all the time. Okay, if I didn't have a call this week with my coach and I didn't have to tell them about this, would I choose this activity? And if the answer is no, I need to figure things out. I need to come clean with my coach and just say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I don't think it's in alignment. It's draining my energy. I'm not getting the results that I thought I was, or I am getting some results. So I'm getting some achievement, yet I'm completely out of alignment with the activity. I dread doing it. Those are your signs that you need to get back in alignment and allow yourself more joyful moments along the journey. This can sometimes come from, when we're out of alignment, yet we're achieving things. This could sometimes come from living into someone else's definition of success. And we've talked about that. There's a whole podcast episode on that. That joy will not happen if you're living in somebody else's definition of success because you're out of alignment. It's not just about the achievement, it's about the alignment. And when you live through somebody else's eyes or somebody else's story or somebody else's vision of success, many, many times you are completely out of alignment and you don't really understand why. And a lot of times it's just because we haven't questioned the definition of success that we want to live by. Your new identity, this new joy-filled strategy should equate to clarity, choice, and alignment. The old you that might be out of alignment, that is not allowing yourself to celebrate or experience joy, or you're taking joy away because of the misalignment of your activities, that's just creating pressure. It's a matter of some type of proving to someone other than you that you can do it even though you're miserable, or you're chasing. Those are not the adjectives I want to use when I'm describing my path forward. I want it to be clarity. I want it to be my choice. I want to be in alignment. What I know to be true is joy shows up when your life matches who you actually are. This is why being in alignment is so important and not just looking at the achievement. So many people will come to me and they've built a very successful business, yet they're out of alignment. And even though they're achieving wonderful things financially, they're not experiencing any kind of joy at all. And it simply is, joy will show up when your life matches who you actually are, when your activities, when your goals, when your strategies actually are in alignment, joy will show up. Number 5 thing for you to consider is you have to design joy. It doesn't just happen by accident. Now, remember I said happiness is due to an external thing. So we might experience some happiness. It could be a simple thing. Like for me, love coffee. I get an amazing cup of coffee from a shop that makes me very, very happy. Does it create joy? No. And that happiness is fleeting. It will go away. This is why it's really important to design joy, because joy is internal and I can call upon it at any time. I can't go get that amazing cup of coffee if I had it while I was on vacation in a different country. I can, however, call on joy at any time. So joy is not something we want to sit around and wait for. It is absolutely something that you must build and be intentional in your business. Simple things that you can do: audit your calendar. Look at what is giving you energy versus what is draining your energy. Reduce or remove low value, low joy activities. I'm going to give you permission. You don't have to do them. What I know is when I identify an activity as low value, meaning I'm not getting the best results from it, if any results, yet I'm doing it because I've always done it, right? But it's not really moving me forward. That is low value. That is most likely also low joy for me because I feel like I'm being held back. When I remove or reduce, what I end up doing is just taking the time that I was doing this activity and I reassign it to things that bring me joy, that are moving me forward, that are high value. Double down on what creates results and enjoyment, not one without the other. Double down on what creates both of those things, results and enjoyment. Build space for thinking time. We've had this conversation multiple times. Make sure you've got silence, thinking time to just really strategize and plan. Protect your time like it's an asset. And know that if you're not scheduling or being intentional about enjoyment and results, joy, that it's not real. If it's not scheduled or it's not intentional, it's most likely not going to happen on the regular. I just always like to remind people joy is internal and I can call on it at any time. And that to me is really important as you're going down this path of assessing in your calendar what's working, what's not working, what's depleting my energy. What am I doing out of habit that's not really moving me forward, that's robbing me of joy? What do I dread doing? Removing those things creates the path for joy to happen more naturally and easier. The number 6 thing for you to think about is the joy strategy. You can do less, feel better, and achieve more. I've given you permission that it's okay to do less, feel better, and achieve more. Now, what you need to make sure you understand is it's doing less of the things that are robbing you of joy, doing less of the things that are not moving you forward. It doesn't mean just you do less and kick back and hope that things all show up. When you remove what doesn't matter, so you really take the time to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to remove the wrong more. Your clarity increases, your energy either increases or comes back. Many times we're just lacking energy. And when you remove what doesn't matter, your results improve. How can't it? If you're removing what doesn't matter and reallocating that time to what does matter, your results are going to be impacted in a really positive way. Joy also helps create better decisions, better relationships, and better consistency. Remember, if I feel joyful about something, I'm more likely to do it again because it allows that joy to come out. And so I'm more consistent in the activities that I do when it's partnered with feeling joy. It's not about doing less for the sake of less. It's always about just doing the right more and eliminating the things that don't matter. Tie it back to what's really important to you and know that less can be your competitive advantage and less can be the greatest multiplier of more because you're clearing out all of those things that are robbing you of joy and energy and that you dread. The fastest way to better results is becoming someone who actually enjoys the process. Let me say that again. The fastest way to better results is becoming someone who actually enjoys the process. To me, this is golden because so many of us live in that destination addiction. I'll be happy when. I'll allow myself to be joyful when, versus experiencing it every single day, multiple times a day, calling on joy from inside to come out by reflecting on the amazing human being that you are and the impact that you're making in the world. And if that means you failed, great job. You were doing something, you were making an attempt to move forward. Failing sometimes for me is a joyful moment because I realized I was doing something. Don't wait for success to feel better. Create it now. The ones who win are the ones who decide to feel better first. Make the decision. What would your business look like if joy wasn't the reward, yet it was the strategy? I really can't stress that enough. Don't hold off on allowing yourself a joy moment until you achieve a goal. There are many, many joy-filled moments along the way. And when we are aware of those and we allow ourselves to experience that joy, it's a game changer. So if you want a better business, you want a better experience in life and business, lean into joy. Make it a strategy as important as any other business strategy you have for your business. All right, team, go make it an amazing week, and we'll talk to you soon. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.